in the morning on the Fan. Sports Radio 66 WFAN.
Yeah, mainly because you can't call me.
Right.
Even though I heard you've been trying to. You and that Dire Straits piece of band. Jesus, what's that all about, huh? Long live rock and roll, son, but how soon can that have a bus wreck, huh? Do that Estefan thing, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But anyway, let me try to impress this on you one last time. You can't call me, all right?
Yeah.
AT&T ain't yet figured out how to put a payphone in a grave, all right? Though believe me, if they could, they would, you know? So tell everybody down there to stop trying to get in touch with me somehow. I mean, what have I been dead now, 13, 14 years? Well, let's see, 1991, take away 1977. You know, 4 from 11 leaves, it'd be carry the 8 and... Oh, it. Look, I'm deader than them people that Jeffrey Dahmer ate, all right?
Right.
And he like run them through a Vegematic, you know?
Yes.
Hey, Elvis to Jeff, by the way. You gonna eat all that, son? Where's the beef, boy? Any little homicide helper? That's one of them cannibal Hannibal jokes, huh?
Right.
Though I could go for a lady finger or two now that I think about it. Hell, I used to dine on Priscilla real regular, but that's another issue entirely.
I'm sure.
Anyway, tell all them double-wide trailer park Thelmas down there to stop hoping they can call me, because they can't. The number's been changed big time, okay? Well, you can dial me up, ring my line, drop in a quarter to buy your time, jiggle the hook, bang on the glass, then stuff that telephone up your ass. The line's dead. The line's dead and so am I. Ain't never gonna answer, no matter how hard you try. Oh.
Hello?
Imus in the morning.
How come he has to get into a car accident 1 week after I wipe out on my bike? Well, say what you want, but in the final analysis, only one thing matters. Johnny picked me. Okay, let's see a show of hands. Which hideously deformed celebrity hasn't slept with Geraldo Rivera? Mark my words, when the dust eventually clears and all the hubbub has died down, people will finally see Deborah Norville for what she is. The cheerleader who wouldn't put out for you in the backseat of your old man's Dodge. Did you ever stop and ponder the horror of a world without cheese? Bottom line, when you're looking at the Olympic basketball team, there just aren't enough black guys. Anybody done the lambada lately? Message to Dan Jenkins. Don't clear off a space on your mantle for Mr. Nobel or Mr. Pulitzer just yet. I can't speak for everybody else, but I'll bet you a week's pay that I'm not the only one who wants to grab that Steve Urkel kid and twist his nipples off with an impact wrench. At the top of my list of guilty pleasures, you'll find Slim Jims and Rice-A-Roni. I don't know why, but all during the confirmation hearings, I found myself with an uncontrollable urge to give Strom Thurmond a sponge bath. I know Blondie getting a job is supposed to bring the funny pages into the 90s, but for my money, the Katzenjammer kids can still make milk shoot through my nose. Faith Daniels on a leather couch in a string bikini. Enough said. In the folder marked Life Imitates Art, add a picture of Frank Perdue and Foghorn Leghorn. Calling George Goober Lindsay, America needs you. Take a 2-pound ham, stick it in a crock pot with a can of pineapple juice and a cup of brown sugar, cover and let simmer for about 9 hours, then tell me that doesn't spell G-O-O-D. I don't know about you, but when I close my eyes and try and visualize what hell would be like, the image that comes to my mind is sitting next to Luciano Pavarotti at a beefsteak Charlie's.
Imus in the morning.
It's 11 after 6. Jay Leno shooting him from the chin. Let him in about...
Imus in the morning on Sports Radio 66 WFAN.
No visitors when I'm doing the show. Jeez. Shouldn't you be napping now? You know, 5:30 comes real early. And 10 o'clock don't come quick enough. So I'm in bed with Paul Kantner, Gracie Slick, and Ben Fong Torres from Rolling Stone. We're passing around some Primo Panama Red. Gracie's about 16 months pregnant. She's telling us how she wants to name the kid God with a small G. I guess so nobody'd be confused. As though the fruit of her loins is going to get anywhere near something divine. Torres gets the munchies, decides to call out for some Chinese, and... Scottso here with you. That was Dire Straits calling Elvis. My advice to them is, better let it ring a while, boys.
Hey, speaking of God with a capital G, caught the Billy Graham show in the park. Not exactly as much fun as a Paul Simon concert, but if you came to see a 73-year-old guy scream for a couple hours, you went away happy. I think it's kind of nice he wants to save New York, because, 500,000 registered heroin addicts, 60,000 homeless. All this shit's gonna go away when some wedgehead in a blue serge suit and bad dentures starts yelling at you. Hey, Bob Seger's got a new album out, The Fire Inside. And I'm sad to report, if you bought it, you were burned beyond recognition. Man, what a piece of shit. If rock and roll never forgets, and Bob's got a bad case of Alzheimer's disease, just take those old records off the shelf, because this new one sucks the big one. By the way, Bob, 60s are over. Get a f***ing haircut. Speaking of that, sucking a big one.
Yes?
Isn't it about time the girls from Wilson Phillips came out with another album? Les Koppelman's having a hard time getting the big one away from the salt lick. Hey, Charles, you want to distract her? Sit in a barrel dressed as a clown. Works at the rodeo. Hey, how sad is this deal with the Candyman, huh?
Well, yeah.
Poor Sammy checks out of the reality ranch and skips on the f***ing bill. Stiffs the IRS to the tune of $5 million. How pissed do you think Willie Nelson is? I mean, he's sitting there thinking, you mean all I had to do was peg out? They padlocked my f***ing life, but no, all one eye checks out with, hey, they say you can't take it with you, so I guess if you don't have it, just beat the check. I mean, it ain't like your credit rating's gonna make a difference on the other side. Tell you one thing, sure old Sammy Davis Jr. is not all that happy right about now. Coming up, the mind bender of
Imus in the morning.
Marla, we'll go to Vagabond. Marla, we'll go to Vagabondo tonight, Marla. What an unbelievable horror show that is. Don buys a ring, doesn't pay for it, and then tells Sidney Adams in the Post, give me a... Hey, my father's your jeweler, Don. Buy the ring from him, for God's sakes. They'll give you a good deal. How are you?
What else?
Let me tell you something right now.
Yeah.
Throw the football. Down the field, will you please?
What are you talking about?
Johnny Unitas could not run the Giants' offense. I mean, they could have Bradshaw, Swan, and Starworth, and Mr. Hanley's giving the ball to Maurice Crawford. For God's sake. Throw the ball. Everybody's screaming about Phil Simms.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but
Everybody's screaming about Phil Simms.
didn't they win?
They beat the Browns. They beat the Browns.
That's who they played.
I mean, give me a break. The Van Nuys Bears can beat the Browns.
Well,
I mean, come on, Don. Throw the ball down the field.
that's who they played.
I don't want them running the ball. I am sick and tired of people blaming it on Hostler. It's not his fault. Ray Hanley is a dopey mathematician. Throw the football.
They won.
What do you mean they won? So what they won?
What's the point?
So they won 13 times. Don, they didn't beat the 61 Packers, for God's sakes.
They won. For God's sake, they won.
The name of the game is entertainment, Don.
They won.
The name of the game is entertainment.
They won. I rest my case. Move on. What's next?
Did you watch 60 Minutes?
Yeah.
How about the two doofuses in Arizona who kept on going to Dennis Gilbert for this money deals?
Dennis Levine.
The fraud, well, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I mean, what a fraud he is. By the way, you gave me $150,000 for Pan Global. That didn't work. Let's try somebody else. And in the meantime, the guy's a thug. I mean, that's unbelievable to me. How dumb can you be? You get taken to the well once, fine.
Yeah.
You get taken to the well twice, that's fine, too. You take taken to the well for the third time, well, you're a fool if that's the case. How stupid is that?
Well,
It's dumb.
It is dumb.
And did you watch the Braves-Dodgers over the weekend?
Yeah.
All of a sudden now Atlanta is biting the big one. They blew it.
Speaking of that.
They blew it. Marla, you still there? I'm coming.
Imus in the morning.
Analyst Richard M. Nixon.
Yes, and thank you. Imus in the morning. Let's move straight into the morning headlines, okay? Now then, issue 1, George Bush's visit to the United Nations. A wonderful address, in my view, but the puzzling thing is, what the hell is all of this bush lock stuff, huh? Frankly, I thought that was the condition that caused the estrangement between Martina Navratilova and Judy Nelson. You know, somebody in a crowbar. They're bush locked. Issue 2. Did you ever think what might have happened if Jeffrey Dahmer had been in that theater down there with Pee Wee Herman? Like one seat over? I'm struck by the thought that after about 2 minutes of watching, Jeffrey would have sounded like Stump Merrill in a post-game interview, and Pee Wee would have sounded like a guitar feeding back. Just a thought. Anyway, getting back on track. Issue 3, I think. The appearance here of a man I admire greatly, the Reverend Dr. Billy Graham, who only drew 200,000 there in Central Park, when Paul Simon recently drew several times that number. Now, there's a message there of some sort. I'm not certain just what. Maybe that Dr. Graham should have nailed Art Garfunkel to a speaker tower or something. I don't know, because Paul Simon had already crucified him. Oh, well. Issue 4, and biggest news of the day, in my view, Marla is back on the block. Now, she's a lovely girl, though, as you pointed out, she did do the wild thing with the Donald, and that is grim. Have you seen Trump lately? No. It'd be like crawling into the sack with a 6-foot-long pink water balloon. What the hell is that all about? I mean, isn't he a billionaire? He looks like a rupture with hair, Ivo. Marla, who are you going to hit the hay with next? That hunk John Sununu? Bruce Coslet? Of course, it does bode well for me, J.D., because if she'll do Trump, anybody's got a shot. Oh, and just guess who's been approached by No Excuses Jeans for a new ad campaign, huh? Me. They're going to base it around my experiences back there with
Watergate.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, I'm not a crook, no excuses with Dick. Pretty great, huh? And they close the spot, you see, with a shot of me and Marla walking away with her head on my shoulder, my hand on her ass. And they run this slide over it that just says, they're losers, they know it, no excuses. Wham, right between the eyes, huh, J.D.? Well, I'm sliding, man. I'm going to go see if I can't hit on Marla here when she's at her most vulnerable, you know? Right when she's wondering whether she'll really get to keep the ring or not. Later, dude. The Dickster is out of here.
Imus in the morning. Imus in the morning on Sports Radio 60.